What up, free bosses? I'm here with my buddy Nate, the founder of FreeUp.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to my house.
And in this video, we're going to discuss how to deal with difficult clients because, as you know, as a freelancer, not all clients are rainbows and butterflies. And so, Nate, how do you deal with difficult clients?
So I've seen every client imaginable, from the most chill to the most high maintenance, and the best freelancers in the world can handle the most difficult clients. As Ian said, not every client is rainbow and butterflies. You have to know that going in. It's part of business. But for the most part, there's very few clients out there that are what I consider scams. People who are really going out of their way to make your life miserable. Yeah. Most people, they just have a regimen. They're strict because they either have high expectations, or they might be hiring for the first time, or maybe they've run into difficulties in the past, so they're on high alert or high strung.
Yeah, I mean, I've had clients myself that are just very overthinking. They want to think of every little detail that may come up or that may be in the whole process of doing something, and they drive themselves crazy. I mean, me personally, I'm kind of like that, where I overanalyze the situation and I think that something may happen, and then that's something I worry about it, and that something never actually happens. So I kind of know what it could be like to actually be a difficult client. So let's say that a client's coming at you, they're heated, they're pissed off, they're angry. What's like the first thing that you do to just instantly bring them down?
Sure. So first thing I do is de-escalate. I'm like, listen, I understand you're upset. Please know, like, I'm not interested in making you unhappy. I'm not interested in ending this dispute with you feeling overbilled or that I underdelivered. So with that said, let's kind of jump in and let's break this down and discuss and get on the same page. So establishing right from the beginning that you're on the same side is incredibly important.
Yeah, and I've also heard that you should definitely agree with them. Like, say, hey, I agree. That's even if you don't 100% really agree with them, just say, hey, I agree. This is a Grant Cardone tactic that I learned, where it's like, hey, I agree. I'd be pissed off as well. You know, and then you go into like how you'd be pissed off, or maybe you'd say that you'd even be even more mad. And then that kind of, when you establish that you're on the same side as them, then that also kind of brings them down a little bit.
It's a good tactic as long as you're not going to backtrack later. You don't want to, before you have all the facts, be like, oh, I'd be pissed, or hey, I admit that I did a bad job, and then down the line you realize that you didn't, and then you kind of look silly, like you were just agreeing with them just to agree.
Yeah.
So
agree in the right way. For sure.
Exactly. So I kind of more establish that I'm on the same side, and then I really try to break it down. And most of the most difficult, or all the most difficult clients can be avoided by preventive maintenance rather than dealing with stuff down the line after they've had them. And I know I was actually talking to your sister today. She's a freelancer in the marketplace as well, who's awesome. And she was having a situation from the client, and we kind of backtracked to the initial conversations, the initial expectations, what was documented, what was in writing, and it just wasn't there. It was a little clear, a little unfuzzy. It could have been misinterpreted in a lot of different ways. And when you do that, it sets you up for failure down the line. It sets you up for dispute resolution down the line. And if you can get in front of all that and establish the boundaries and the expectations and get it all in writing, you save yourself a lot of time and hassle down the line. And I know you're probably sick of me saying that because I preach that to every worker on the marketplace over and over and over.
No, I'm a huge fan of it. Like playing offense before it even happens, right? So how I play offense is I'm just very upfront. Like if I get the slightest little hint or inclination that this client is gonna be kind of difficult, I'm always on guard. And like if they give me a project or if they give me a task to do, then I'm gonna say immediately, hey, I think this is gonna take X amount of hours, or hey, I'm projecting this much cost that it's gonna incur, or I'm always just on the front end saying, this is what I think may happen, these are the obstacles that I think we may face. And then if those obstacles don't happen, then it takes less time and it takes less money of the client, but giving them that projection on the front end, I think helps me avoid disputes down the line.
And I've seen you do this before, where you know your value, you know what the services you offer, you know what you can and you cannot do. So up front, if you're meeting with a client and it's outside your realm, or maybe their budget's too small, or maybe it's just not a fit, you realize that in the first meeting, because even the best freelancers in the world aren't the best fit for every client in the world. So it's much better if you don't get yourself into those situations because you set that tone up front and it wasn't a fit, than if it's not a good fit and then you find yourself knees deep. But let's dive in. Let's say that you did an okay job at the beginning, clients to getting difficult, and you do need to de-escalate it afterwards.
Yeah.
Once we kind of establish, hey, we're on the same team, I'm not interested in screwing you over, so to speak, let's work this out, really try to break it down. Try to get specifics, try to get information. It's the biggest step of problem solving at any point in business. If you're running into an issue with billing, if there's something else going on, and maybe with your supplier, before you do anything, you get information, you get specific information. If a client's like, hey, this work was poor, that doesn't tell you very much. You need to dive deeper.
You're also being very neutral. You're trying to just stay neutral because, I mean, in the case of FreeUp, you're managing the clients and you're managing the workers. So you're just trying to ride the middle line, at least while you gather information.
Yeah, I wouldn't even consider it managing. I mean, I'm not really managing the client. The worker has their own way of doing things. I'm trying to get a meeting in the minds, get people on the same page, get them to agree on something so we can proceed forward. And that's really what it's all about. And I'll tell the clients too, I'll be like, hey, I'm more than happy to help you. Can you just take the time to give me 3 specific things that you didn't like, or that you don't like, that you want to see improve? Because a lot of times difficult clients, they've had people quit on them before. They've had issues before.
They know that they're a little difficult.
Exactly. And they're more willing to give that second chance because they want it to work out. As a business owner, you always want it to work out. Hiring is an investment of your time, your money.
Especially if you have a rock star worker on your hands, you don't want to lose that worker.
Exactly. So in order to give that feedback back or to get a situation resolved, you're able to give those specifics as a client. Like, hey, if you check out paragraph 3, everything was misspelled. This is terrible grammar. Hey, we talked about having a budget of $500 for October. I see here that you went to $750. What happened here? Let's talk about that. So once you get those specifics, then you can give the freelancer a chance to address each one of them and make sure that they get it in writing. And in my opinion, if you don't get it in writing, it's on the freelancer. You have to accept that. You have to go out of your way to get everything in writing. Getting approval on the phone, you're setting yourself up for disaster.
And that's what I was going to kind of say. You were reminding me about how important it is to get it in writing so that you can kind of prove your case. Because let's say that at the moment the client is hot-headed. Well, if you were communicating with them mostly through Skype conversations or Slack or anything, whatever it is through writing, you can easily just scroll up, figure out where it was that you were having that communication, do a quick screenshot, and then just kind of show them, hey, we did agree to X, Y, Z. So, you know, building the relationship through verbal, you know, through video chats and just audio is really important, but it's also really important to have that in writing as like a second form of concrete evidence.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times someone's come to me and they're like, you said this, or hey, your service offers this, and I'll literally just grab a screenshot of my exact wording because I'm very careful about what I say, and I try to avoid all gray areas. For me, when I'm talking, I try to keep it black and white, and I can send it to them, and it just de-escalates it very quickly. So once you get the specifics, you're going through, you share your argument, whatever your points are, wherever you came across, a lot of times you'll realize maybe you did make a mistake here and there. Usually it's not the worker's 100% right and the client might be somewhat off touch with reality. It usually doesn't happen like that. Usually it comes down to some fault. It might be small, it might be huge, it might just be a mistake. We're all human, we make mistakes, client understand that. But figure out where that was and how big it was and apologize for it and show that, again, you're on the same team. And what is a realistic situation to make it right? And that's kind of where that proposal start comes in. Maybe it's a free hour here. Maybe you go in and then proof it before the next time you were originally planning to work with them. Maybe you do come to an agreement on a refund. And while keeping in mind the big picture in all of this, it's in your best interest to keep clients happy. The clients might not always be right, but it's in your best interest to keep them happy. I mean your reputation on the line.
Burning bridges is never a good way to go into business because it's crazy how small of a world this is. And if you make burning bridges a habit in your life where you're just going forward in life and you're leaving destruction in your path, it's gonna really come back to bite you in the ass. And whether it's this client talking to this client over here, or it's maybe your portfolio looks really bad, or if just word gets around that you're a shitty person to work with, it's gonna come back to you, and it's just not a good way to do business.
We're in the age of social media, right? It's pretty easy to leave someone a bad review, pretty easy to bash them online. So, and there are unreasonable people out there, don't get that wrong. I've had clients that no matter what I did, if I bent over backwards, could not make them happy. But that's a very small percentage of people. And when you go into the mentality that I'm going to try to fix this, I'm going to try to resolve this, it saves you a lot of money to give someone a 2-hour refund, even if you're charging $50 an hour, then the backlash you could get from a bad review or losing clients in the future, it's just not worth it. So figure out that common ground, figure out that way to move forward. And if it's something where the client is 100% wrong and you're on the free up marketplace, I mean, we'll back you up. If you have everything in writing and for some reason it's not making sense to the clients, we have terms of use on the site to protect both workers and clients. So it does go both ways. It's not 100% one-sided, but the client is the client and you do want to make them happy. And we're expecting freelancers to help resolve things, not escalate it further.
So to summarize the whole video, what it all really boils down to is you want to for sure get everything in writing. As much communication as possible, especially when you're talking about deadlines and anything financial, get that in writing for sure. And then I would also say, take the neutral ground, try to just figure out what is the main issue. I mean, it may just be that the client is having a bad day, they're not seeing clearly, you're totally in the right, and they're totally in the wrong.
Getting all the information, getting very specifics from the client, and then going through and explaining your side and giving actual resolutions as you come to the conclusion what you did right and what you did wrong, and really working together as a team. Like you said, not fighting against each other, but understand what they're saying and working together to get past that. And that's the key when you have that mentality.
And then I would say the last tip is to not burn bridges. You want to have a bunch of happy people around you. You want to, if you do end a relationship with a client, try to end it on the best terms possible where you're both smiling, walking away. You don't have somebody out there in the world that could potentially give you a bad referral or say anything bad about you. I would say if you learned anything from this video, go ahead and like, comment, and give us your thoughts. If you had any experiences where you've actually had a bad client and you learned how to navigate that situation, maybe something that we didn't cover in this video, go ahead and leave a comment and let us know. But hopefully this video was able to bring you value. So thank you so much for watching.
Yeah, thanks everyone.